So that is Ekaterina Ploshchad behind me, Catherine's Square. And that plinth that you see there with the Ukrainian flag, well, until recently, there was a statue up there to Catherine the Great, the founder of this lovely city of Odessa. She was taken down, the statue, because it's part of a program of what's called de-Russification of Ukraine. And it's far more complex and nuanced and difficult to explain in any one vlog. So this is going to be kind of interspersed between a whole bunch of different reports that I'll be doing from Odessa. But I wanted to get out a first kind of primer about a number of topics that I'll be talking about when it comes to the history of Odessa, what's happening now, the culture of this city, and what it means to both Ukraine and to Russia. And the reason I'm doing this kind of primer as a quick kind of push to get this out when this is indeed such a complex topic is because September 2nd is the day which is recognized as the founding of this lovely seaside port city. And so I thought I would get this out quickly as a way to just say, happy birthday, Odessa. Like I said in my last vlog from here, Odessa is a lovely seaside town. With charming tucked-away fountained little squares, it's often referred to as Odesa Mama, as it provides all that a person could want. It is also fiercely independent. And from that stubborn resistance, there is a clear, concerted effort to keep on, with a sense of normality. A beer festival, for example, to commemorate the holiday. You'd be hard-pressed to see it as anything other than your usual street party.
And this is a session IPA.
Session IPA.
Local craft beers being
Odessa.
sold in stalls.
Yes.
Only Odessa.
Only Odessa.
Bands jamming on stage. But look a little closer and you can see the changes. From a stand for donating to the armed forces of Ukraine, littered with debris of what weapons the invaders have brought, and the symbols of those that brought them, to commemorative steins that were clearly printed up before the world was turned upside down. Before the shipping lanes were shut down, so vital to the city's industry, but also which used to bring sailors and traders from all around the world, contributing to Odessa's proud, unique metropolitan sense of identity. So one thing that it is worth noting is that since the last time I was in Odessa, the beaches have actually opened up again, because the last time I was here, you couldn't swim in the Black Sea because of the mines that were out there and the fear that maybe one of them might get detached and pose a threat to swimmers. It's a good thing that these beaches have opened, because we're going through a really strong heat wave, and it's a lovely way to cool down, to go swimming in the sea. Other little things that I've noticed, sadly, there are no vessels out there, which is not usual. That's out of the ordinary for Odessa. Normally there would be ships everywhere, as I mentioned in my last vlog, the last time I was here. But in addition to that, all the various industries that are part of being a seaside town, whether it's the port or whether it's the fishing industry or indeed tourism, that has all gone by the wayside, and they're not getting fresh fish from the sea here anymore. They're getting it from other locations. Nevertheless, here at one of my favorite seaside fish restaurants, they are still providing great food and great fish dishes. So I'm going to have my lunch, and I'll pick up on the other side. Well, that was a lovely lunch, and at the risk of this becoming a travel log, if you do, after the war, want to come to Odessa, and I highly recommend that you do, this restaurant, one of my favorite fish restaurants in the city, is just simply Chanamorka, up from Ibiza nightclub or Seaside Club here in Arcady City. One of the things that I do notice about Odessa, and I notice this around Ukraine, but in a certain particular way here in Odessa, there is a sense of what my friend who lives here calls a sense of, and I'm going to butcher this, but payopnaya mentalitet, which is kind of fuck it mentality. And I don't know if it has something to do with being in such an idyllic location with such beauty, or whether it's this kind of stubborn Odessan Ukrainian perspective, but they're not going to let the Russians rob them of their simple pleasures, whether that is sitting on a beach and sunbathing, or swimming to get away from the heat, or indeed enjoying a cold beer and some nice fried fish and some mussels and tomato sauce. No, the people of Odessa are stronger than that. And it may seem as though they are not taking the threat from Russia seriously. That would be a mistake. They do. You don't get bombed every night or every other night or live under air raid sirens and not take it seriously. But enjoying the things that Odessa provides, Odesa Mama, well, that's a bigger issue than letting some thug Russians dictate how you live your life.
Amusing life we are living.
The alarm sounds, but people just go on living.
We're living a beautiful life. A beautiful life. And who are we supposed to be afraid of?
Who?
No one.
No one. That's right.
I wish good luck to you.
And to my mind, of all the cities in Ukraine, Odessa is a prime example of where the lines are blurred between Russia and Ukraine and the legacy of this ugly, toxic marriage that is now coming to an end. Take, for example, who takes custody of the artistic and cultural heritage that you find here. For example, this is Odessa Film Studios, the first film studio in the Russian Empire, well before Mosfilm in Moscow was created. This is the place where the great Soviet film director Sergei Eisenstein filmed his battleship Potemkin, this amazing example of early film. Well, who gets custody of that? Who built this place called Odessa? Was it the Russians? Was it the Ukrainians? And as an outsider, I know I won't be winning any points with either side of that argument, but sadly I think that as is the case in so many marriages, even the toxic ones, that these kind of bleed against one another. After living together for so long, there are traits that are shared. But now that the divorce is happening, who gets ownership of these things?
Especially when one of the spouses is determined to destroy much of the beauty that was built here. Like in July, when debris damaged the Transfiguration of Christ Cathedral, construction of which began in 1794. The city, in a genuine showing of community, came out in big numbers to clean it up. This is what it looks like today, 2 months later. So, every time a smoke plume rises above the resort high-rises, a not uncommon sight, it only contributes to Odessans' sense of anger and defiance.
So in a rough translation, the graffiti on this plywood outside of the facade of this building here in Odessa is live for today because you don't know if there will be a tomorrow. And that's kind of an attitude that's visible in Odessa, this kind of carpe diem sense of things, this also kind of sense of fuck it, let's just live for now. And another characteristic of many Odessans is that they're fiercely independent. Maybe it's from their stubbornness or their sense of, being a port city and having that kind of unique status. And at the beginning of the war, there was a lot of questioning as to where Odessa's allegiances lay. For example, the lingua franca here is Russian and remains so. But, once Russia starts bombing the hell out of your buildings, well, a lot of people are no longer even questioning which side of this war they stand upon. So just to wrap things up back here on Catherine the Great Square in central Odessa. And I want to make one final point before I close, and I think this is a perfect place to do it because, with the statue conspicuously missing there on that empty plinth, it says a lot. And what it says is this: Russia has lost Ukraine irrevocably. There's been too much blood, too much suffering, too much pain, too much loss. They are never going to be together again. And this is territory that Catherine won as the Ottoman Turks and the Ottoman Empire withdrew. Now keep in mind that Catherine is a contemporary of the Sons of Liberty in America. Think how important our founding fathers are to us in the US. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, all these names with such resonance. Well, Catherine in many ways is the same because it was Catherine who built the idea of Russian Empire, this German aristocrat who came and became a Russian empress. Well, she's the one that took this land. And that's a big deal. Sure, there were others who contributed to this idea of Russian Empire, but I would argue no one more so than Catherine. What does that mean? Well, if you think about what the Founding Fathers mean to Americans, then clearly you can understand why losing this cornerstone of Russian Empire means so much to the Russians. But that loss has happened. They're not getting Ukraine back. And I would argue they will not hold on to Donbass. They will not hold on to the land bridge that leads to Crimea. None of that is a fait accompli. I think that it is very much still possible that the Ukrainians regain that territory as well. And no Russian leader survives the loss of that which Catherine took. I don't care if you're a 19th century czar or a Soviet leader, not Lenin, not Stalin, no one. And certainly not that asshole who sits in the Kremlin today. No, the clock is ticking on Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. Slava Ukraini. I Garoyam Slava.